creates a different dynamic when somebody feels that what they're telling you is gonna have some kind of, it's gonna go on some kind of record. They're on the record. It's different.
And do you feel any differently now, like about the stage of life you're in, about your age, after having been through this project?
I don't, for me, that's not what films do. They don't, it's a, I'm trying to express something, and I'm trying to think about an audience. And Emmet is doing the same thing. We're thinking is, how are people gonna, how is this gonna come across to people? Are my own musings relevant to what people are thinking about there? So that's the emphasis, is who am I talking to, and how is it gonna hit them? Rather than a learning process for myself. I don't feel the difference between 5 years ago, what I knew then and what I know now.
Is this available online anywhere?
It's not available online. There's a
Not yet. It will be.
there's a traditional order to all this, because certain things, if you do them, it kills the others. So you can't be in movie theaters if the thing is already out on video on demand. So you have to follow certain steps. But it will be. I can't tell you exactly when, but we're going to try some theatrical, and then maybe for 3 or 4 months, and then after that it'll be available on demand.
So spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
Through making this film together, I mean the editing process at least, because you are, I mean, maybe you have different relationships to mortality, what do you feel like you've learned from each other through working together?
Oh, wow. Well, I just feel so incredibly lucky that when I brought Emmet onto the project, I had no idea that he would be thinking about it so close to the way I was thinking about it. So that was a wonderful surprise.
Yeah. I think I became a lot more optimistic. This was the first job that I got after college. Ralph hired me a week before finals in my last year. And I think in college I was always afraid I wasn't doing enough. And then we had 5 years of working on one thing really slowly. And the first couple of years I was like, let's finish it already, let's move on. And by the end I didn't want to finish it. I wanted to sort of keep digging into this material and working with you. I think that way of working is not just about work, it's about, if I could say this, how you live your life and how you relate to the people around you. And I find that to be fundamentally optimistic, this sort of obsession with the present. And that was new to me. That's thanks to Ralph. And I try to bring that with me in everything else I do.
Wow, that's really nice. He never said that before. What he was saying mostly to me is, we're at picture lock. And then I found the guy who was dragging the tire on the road, and I said, no, wait a minute. You gotta put this in there.
That was about a week before the premiere, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, it was. Way back.
I was just to answer a question you asked earlier. I did see the New York Times article, but I think there was a reference, or a friend of mine who told me to look at it, to the Shawn movies, which I love, which is why I came tonight, because I watched both of those. But my question is there a film that you wanted to make or want to make that you haven't done, or a story you wanted to tell that you never told?
I've always wanted to make a film in Africa. I'm sort of an echo of my, not about my Peace Corps experience, but if I'm lucky enough to make another film, I think it'll be in Africa. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to do. interested in that.
In the back.
So, I love the movie, and one of the things that's incredible is that, you know, the whole movie is about the passage of time and how life is fleeting, but film and cinema is somehow the opposite of that, right? It plucks things out of time and makes them permanent in some way. So my question, which is a very hard question, can you think of one particular thing in the movie that, regardless of everything else, you know, at least you got that one thing down and you captured that one thing? Like, is there a character or a moment? I'm asking what's your favorite part of the movie?
Most of the scenes with my wife.
Yeah.
They're what touch me most, and still do. I'm just sitting back there. I just. So whether she's telling me to put the goddamn camera down, or whether she's smiling when she was in her early 20s, those are the closest to my heart.
You're looking at a beautiful photo of her right above you now.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious about Ernie and how you viewed him in your film. He seems, you introduce him early, after introduction or descriptions of your neighbors as, you know, this gentleman, that person, the horse, the people of means, and all of a sudden, here's the man to the north, I think, as you described.
Yes.
He's a man of no means. He's living a hard-bitten existence. And, to me, he seems subtly heroic right through the film. You bring him to the doctor. He's out of his element. He goes to the hospital. He still has a sense of humor. He's able to crack jokes. And I'm curious about how he lived day to day and what he did all those years. I lived in the woods of Maine for 2 years, but I was 23, 24. I had to carry water in. I had no electricity. But he really is an amazing person, especially that image of those double doors opening and the glass window. But when they shut, it's like, what does he do there?
Yeah.
It was shocking.
It's a good question. What does he do there? I mean, you know, to me, you know, Ernie was, he's not a very endearing person, personally. I mean, you could tell that he, you know, he's very brusque and he swears a lot, and he's not warm and fuzzy. But, you know, in addition to the fact that he didn't want to be filmed on his own property, there's also the fact that he would not have been a good subject for a film, because he was not in any way reflective about his own life. He was living his life, but he wouldn't have let me or the camera in. I don't know when we decided to open and close the film with Ernie, but it's an interesting question, because he's not a character that would have worked in the film that I started out to make about him.
The decision to open and close with Ernie was one of the first decisions we made in the first year of editing, before you had shot most of what we see. Because we saw the final shot, which is now the final shot, in the snow, and I think we were both like, oh, holy shit, that's the last shot of the movie. Now we have to figure out what is the movie. Get us there. How do we build to that moment?
What goes in between?
And there was a lot of other food. I mean, you went to a Hungarian wedding with Ernie, and he's just eating these pigs in a blanket, and you know, trying to flirt with the waitresses, and he's charming. You spent a lot of time with him, but the idea of using him as kind of bookends with the doctor visit in the middle, that came really early on.
Yeah.
And then the question was, how much of him do we use? And the decision to cut a lot of that out had to do with what you're saying about him not being reflective.